Courtney.
I'm Dara.
And this is Next Big Thing with Courtney and Dara. Cue you guys to get that. I love it.
Because I definitely was going to be like, no, let's take it again.
And
You gonna clap like this.
No, but you
you
guys are
did
perfect.
Wonderful.
That's why we came here, for all you beautiful, perfect black people. So I don't know if you all are familiar with Next Big Thing with Courtney and Dara, but we are a web series that highlight millennials of color that are doing dope things in tech, media, and entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so we've had people on our show like the now new mayor of San Francisco, London Breed, first elected black woman mayor
of San Francisco.
So
we made a little bit of history recently. So yes. Other famous people that we've now interviewed. I don't know if anyone watches Dear White People, but we had Ashley Blaine Featherson on one of our episodes as Joelle, everyone's favorite best friend. And we had
journalist Jarrett Hill. Y'all remember when Melania was stealing speeches? Are you familiar with this? And then somebody was like, that sounds real familiar, because he had memorized Michelle Obama's speech by accident. That was Jarrett Hill. That's my close personal psychopath friend.
He was like, it's kind of like the Biggie lyrics, like if you hear it and you don't remember that you memorized it, but you hear the song, you just start singing along. And he said that's pretty much what happened when Melania was giving Michelle Obama's speech.
But there is a reason that he had to use that metaphor, because otherwise
he would have come on.
Who does that?
I mean, we're all a little obsessed with Michelle Obama. We're here in Chicago. What's up, Robinsons? What's up? So I get it. I have a Michelle Obama pin. I decided not to wear. I'm wearing my Africa pin instead. But, you know.
In the spirit of the day.
But yeah, so you guys can check us out on YouTube if you want to see what we've done so far. This is now our third season that we're sitting in. We've done this for 3 years now.
Yeah.
It's been a journey. It's been, there goes our graphic.
Well, Courtney plays with that, and we might just have to let it go.
Right on up.
Yeah.
It's so pretty. Let's have it up.
So to give you a quick rundown of how the show usually goes, it's like something like this in the beginning, which is obviously wildly entertaining. You're already riveted, I can tell. We talk about some current events, things that are on our minds. We bring up an up-and-coming creator of color, and today we have one that's very special that you're really gonna like. And then we play a little game with them. We call that tea time. When we do our live shows, we like to do story time. So we'll be taking a suggestion from one of you out there on what we're gonna do our on-the-spot real life stories about, and the person whose topic we choose is gonna get a little prize. So come up with good things. Don't just say like celery.
But we would come up with an interesting story about celery. I don't have one off the top.
Oh, I have one.
There we go. So it can be something like celery, but you know.
Well, I already used it, so don't do that one. But there was a girl on the train eating celery, and I think that's an act of terrorism.
Oh, because of the sound. What's that called? What kind of phobia is that?
Misophonia.
Misophonia, yeah.
I might know something about that.
Alrighty. So let's hop right in.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, no need to be, we want to hear from you. If you are feeling some things, we want to hear it and talk to us, because, you know, it's us.
I mean, like you would in church, like an or a ha 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 when the pastor does that joke.
Don't come up and be the preacher.
Right.
It's church rules in here, y'all. But we all going to, I'm just saying.
And
to heaven.
keep it going. So let's
talk current events. The events of the world that's happening around us.
Nothing is happening.
Well, it's interesting because we always try to do that part of our planning at the last minute, and there was nothing interesting trending on Twitter this morning.
I mean, I think it's just like everything is so horrible that eventually the burning fires of the apocalypse become background noise.
Oh, no! I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
But we found some things to talk about.
Yes.
There's some good black news that happened this week, so we're going to focus on that. First one up, there is a young man, a photographer named Tyler Mitchell, who has been tapped by Beyonce herself to shoot her cover photo for American Vogue, September issue of Vogue, which, you know, if you're in the fashion world, you know that is the issue that you want to be on. She has already graced the cover of Vogue, but this one is special because she has full creative control. She wrote that into her contract. Everyone take notes. Yes. But what's so interesting about this young man that she has tapped, 23-year-old Tyler Mitchell, is he will make the first Black person to ever shoot a cover photo for Vogue magazine in its 126-year history.
So we're excited, like yes. But also, why are we still having firsts like this?
In the words of Queen Bee herself,
what's she
ain't
say?
that about a bitch? Like, really? I'm the first one? Really?
Are those her words specifically?
She said that about Coachella.
Okay.
Yeah.
I heard from the congregation. She did. I appreciate that.
She said.
Let me know.
So we're still out here making firsts. I mean, we both work at tech companies, so oftentimes we're the first ones that are in a room at a board meeting or a meeting. So we know what that.
A first one,
like.
a only one.
I worked at a tech company, and I was the only Black person in that company ever, statewide. That was it. It was me. Unironically, I was the diversity officer for that company.
If we had sound effects, it would go wah wah wah.
Listen, we made strides in our gender numbers.
Because that's always a safe place to start.
It's the safest place to start.
We must protect our white women.
You want to see some? Listen, you want to see white women go hard for something? Talk about gender inequality all day, every day. This is what we need to do, and you're like, yeah. And what about Black people?
I just don't want to distract the issue.
You sound a little aggressive. Are you okay? Are you angry? I'm like, now
you're standing on public property, and so I'm gonna call the police on you. Is that okay?
That's been happening to us a lot from the Bay, where we're from. I don't know if you guys remember a little incident called Barbecue Becky. The hashtag. Yeah, that happened. Like, we both live in Oakland around the lake, so it like where I go do my daily exercise was where, you know, white women like to call the police on Black people for living. But it's a beautiful turnout now. When I go there on Sundays, every single Sunday, it is the turn up. They have enterprise.
I love it.
You don't need to go there with your own charcoal grill anymore. They got you set. You can buy jewelry. You can buy fragrances. You can buy. Y'all, I swear, for God.
Something about.
They had. Is
there shea butter there?
No, girl. I didn't check the little goodie bag thoroughly that they had out that they were selling, but it was candy and Hennessy. All right. Come on, right? I was like, I've never seen that.
Because we got to stay on brand. We have to stay on brand at all times.
I love it.
I love watching it from my Twitter feed, even though I do live around the corner. Because I don't know if y'all heard about the rents in San Francisco and the Bay Area, but you got to stay home as much as possible.
You got to get your money's worth. You do.
I represent the rent is too damn high party.
More good Black news that happened this week. LeBron James. Yeah. A round of applause. I mean, we're, like I said, from the Bay, so we got the Warriors that cry face that y'all see LeBron making every year. That's because of us.
I hate when you do this. Don't us me. I ain't no Warriors fan. I'm from Philadelphia.
She's from Philadelphia.
So I don't have a team. Trying to keep it 100.
Keep it 100. But, you know, despite coming in second every year to the Warriors, LeBron James opened up an elementary.
It's just so shady, and she just slipped it in there too.
I had a graphic ready to go of his cry face, y'all. I wasn't even trying to. But he opened up an elementary school this week, the I Promise School in Akron, Ohio. Yes.
Yeah.
So he's still winning at life, 100%.
He's definitely doing more for children than Betsy DeVos is.
It's true. We can talk about it.
And poor Betsy DeVos, she lost a yacht recently. Did you hear about that? Somebody untied her yacht. And then she only had 3 more yachts.
It's hard. Life is so hard.
Life is terrible. should be harder, though. Let's keep untying those yachts, people.
Keep that energy, fam. Let's keep that through the new school
Keep
year.
that same energy.
Keep that energy.
Eat the rich.
But
okay.
it's interesting because there's a lot that is coming into this elementary school. It's free tuition, free meals. Even if you graduate, you're guaranteed tuition coverage for one of the schools in that state as well, colleges.
Yeah.
And
it's support for the parents of the children, because I'm sure we all know, it's not just about getting a child in the seat. Like, the child has to be fed, the child has to be able to focus, the child has to be able to deal with any kind of psychological trauma from things that are going on at home, or, generational trauma from waking up Black every day. And these are things that are going to actually be addressed in this school. And so it's not just like a guy signing over a bunch of money so that he can get some good press. It's like actually well researched and maybe gonna actually do something.
It's going to be great.
So
it's
that's nice.
Specifically for at-risk students. Mm-hmm. Wondering if anyone in the audience knows, when we use the term at risk, what the end of that phrase should actually be. At risk for what? Anybody know? Oh, that's so interesting. This is something else I learned while I was that one Black person at that tech company. So when we say that students or children are at risk, what we're actually saying is that they are at risk for not graduating high school. That is,
ooh.
That is,
if you had done that on purpose, that would have been real interesting and fly.
I tried to make it cute, but that didn't work. But I find it really interesting that we use that term, but no one really knows, what are we saying they're at risk for? Getting shot, getting pregnant early. It's all equating to you will not graduate high school, which is the entrance to college, which is the entrance to so many student loans and jobs. And I know I slipped that in there too. I don't want to talk about it, but yeah, that's that. And you get a job after college with your student loans that you finally get to pay off. It's so exciting.
Well, you get to pay off the interest.
That's supposedly what you're doing, but yeah.
Yeah.
Good Black news.
This is our good Black news.
Good Black news. Good Black news.
We're talking about debilitating debt. Isn't this fun? Good Black news.
Awesome. What else is going on in the world?
So this is not good Black news, but this is just on top of mind for me, because we were here, we're staying in a hotel room. Courtney turned on the TV. I kind of was like, what, a TV? Because I haven't had cable in a really long time.
Oh, I don't have cable either.
So I've been, also that.
I'm paying these loans, that's the wait.
I am watching all these commercials, and I don't see a lot of commercials because I'm watching stuff on Netflix, and the only break I get is, girl, you okay? When Netflix puts up that message. And I'm like, no, stop asking me. There was a commercial that we saw for these eye drops.
Lumify.
Okay, I didn't want to say because forget you heard that. We're not giving them no free advertisement. But you drop them in your eye and it makes your eyes, the whites of your eyes brighter. And I was like, oh, great. Another thing to be uncomfortable and self-conscious about. I already had so many parts of me that I was worried about. I forgot to hate the whites of my eyes. Is this what watching commercials is like? It's like, hey, do you have this problem you didn't know you had? We've got a solution. I'm like, God damn, I do have that problem. And I went to the mirror and looked at my eyes and, oh, they're a little bleak. What?
I think the whites of your eyes are really white and beautiful and bright.
Thanks, I've been using Lumify. No, I haven't. I think it's ridiculous, and I want to go back to not watching commercials anymore because they're a poison.
They are. It's okay.
I think the world already does a pretty good job, especially for us as Black women, telling us all the different ways that we're lacking. I don't need to actively tune into that. That's gonna find me, so I'm okay.
Right. And then, last but not least, and obviously we did these in order of importance, it's National Watermelon Day. Hey!
Yeah.
Not that is good Black news, because everybody in the world likes watermelon and it's healthy for everyone. But while we're here, I love some watermelon. It's really good. And it's National Watermelon Day. So happy National Watermelon Day, you guys.
We did a little...
Why with the seeds?
Well, without the seeds, they charge you $15. And you're like,
So can I just...
I can work. I can do a little bit of work to get a reasonably priced watermelon.
You guys, no. Go to Trader Joe's. They got your back on the seedless watermelons. I mean, shit, Trader Joe's and Lumify need to sponsor this right now. But I will admit to you, the reason why I do buy seedless watermelons is because when I was little and they didn't have seedless watermelons on the market like that yet, my dad would actually like cut up a watermelon and sit there and take out all the seeds before serving it to me.
That's so precious.
I had the best
And
dad
in
the
no
world.
way explains anything. I say it with love. I say it with love. We did a poll on our Twitter because there's been, I guess, some debate. I keep seeing it come across my timeline, how people prepare their watermelon. I didn't know it needed preparation. I thought God did that. Like, you get it, you slice it, and it's done. But people are doing things. And so we said, like, what things are you doing with your watermelon? And the choices were adding salt, because sometimes people sprinkle salt on it.
Clap your hands if that's what y'all do. Be proud. And we can have a debate about grades too if you need to. Right, no, that's going to get
We only
ugly.
have
Let's
so
get back
many
to watermelon.
times.
Roll it back. It's going to get ugly in here. Oh, God.
The second choice after salt was lime juice, because some people are doing that.
I've never heard of
I'm just reporting. Like, I feel like I'm going to have an angry mob after this. I'm just the messenger. Put your torches away.
It's crazy. Oh, my God.
And then the final choice is, I don't put anything on my watermelon. I'm not a charlatan. Nope. And I am happy to say at 69% up top, yeah. I am a little bit, it's okay. Nothing, I'm no charlatan has won, but in second place with almost 30% was the salt.
Oh, good. Okay, we have some salt shakers in here.
Oh yeah, that's so cute. Call them salt shakers. I think, so I have a theory as to why this is.
Why?
Because so we tweeted it on the Next Big Thing account, which is at NBT the show. You can go ahead. I see a couple of y'all on your phones anyway, so why don't you go ahead and follow us.
We love it. Tag us, like us.
At NBT the show. Yeah. And then I retweeted from my personal account, and I realized that I over-index in white people who follow me so that they can feel better about not doing anything like politically active in the world. So they like feel better on a Sunday morning because they woke up and liked something a black girl said. And those are the salt shakers.
Yeah.
It's them white people, y'all. They're everywhere.
I'm feeling it.
It's okay. At least they're listening, right?
They can tune out. It's really fine. I'm a plain Jane. I must say, I know how to pick a watermelon, y'all. Do y'all know how to pick a watermelon? Okay, I'm curious. Actually, I bet you somebody in this room does know how to pick a watermelon. But tell me, what's the secret? What's the secret?
The sound.
The sound. Okay. That is an element, but not the answer we were looking for. What else?
It's about a B flat.
It's supposed to be a B flat. So if you have perfect pitch, not only do you get to go around with that in life,
What sound
but also
is it
you get the
supposed to
best
make?
watermelon.
A B flat. Thank you. Yes. No, but I'll tell y'all because we family.
You can get the app.
You can get the app. No, there's no app for watermelons.
No, there's an app for the musical song.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so let's come back to that actually. So the number one way to tell if you have a nice, ripe, juicy watermelon on your hands is you actually I should have a watermelon up here. So you know how it's normally that oval shape? If you turn it and look at where the stem was, watermelons ripen from their center. So the greener that they are at that center point where the stem used to be, that is your ripest watermelon that is ready to go and ready to eat. Now, going back to B flat over here, what you want to double check if it's not too soft, you want to, like after you check for the color, now you want to check for the sound and the texture. Make sure it's not extra soft. And if it is making that B flat noise, I know what you're talking about, It's extra good to go.
D.
D flat. My bad. D flat. So that's the secret.
That was almost a nightmare. Because all of you were going to go out and get watermelons immediately and buy some mushy ass B flat watermelons. Dodged a real bullet there. Also, this has been Watermelon Talk with Courtney and Dara. I hope you're enjoying it.
Alrighty. So
It really did get like the most engagement of all of our tweets, basically.
I'm not mad at it.
But it's got some special qualities.
There we go.
It's got citrulline.
Wait, the watermelon has.
Citrulline.
No.
Yeah, watermelon. Yeah.
We were ramping up for a transition. I think we should keep doing that.
Let me connect the two after.
We forgot our congregation rules. You open it up a little bit.
Wait a minute. Just 5 seconds. One little note for the man over 45. Citrulline is a substance that has Viagra-like qualities.
Oh! Come on, you needed to know that. So, okay, watermelon has citrulline.
What the hell does that mean?
We all need to know that at some point in life, girl. Don't act like we not gonna be 65. Like, well, we can't get this prescription because we don't have health care anymore. But we got this watermelon with this citrulline in it real quick. Honey, get it. Come on, I like it. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm gonna take that back to the bay with me. For real. And
I'm
now,
having so much fun.
on a transitional note, we are ready to bring
This
up
is
our
amazing.
guest. All right. So
Yep.
she is a comedian and a producer of this here Wakandacon. You may have seen her in this viral video from Comedy Central and her comedy group 3P called The Blackening. If you have not, Google it. You are in for a treat of how hilarious it is. That asks the question, because you know how when you're in a horror movie or,
You know how when you're in a horror movie?
when you're in a horror movie and you black and you die first because you black. So this asks the question, what happens if everybody's black? Who dies first? So they gotta go and
It's really, really funny, and
it's
you'll
a
enjoy
good
it.
one.
So we're gonna bring her right on up. Her name is Lisa Beasley.
Lisa Beasley. Get right on in here. Get on that. I'm here. Oh, hey, girl. Hey, hi. Alrighty.
That's just what it's gonna be for the rest of the time. It's just gonna be us going.
All right, how you doing?
You know what? It's the end of the day. I've been up since 5:45. And so after going to bed at 3, I forgot that part. So I'm feeling really good.
Good. Well, first, thank you for all of your hard work in organizing this for all of us.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Come in this mic, because we're gonna.
I appreciate it, and I thank you for. This is one of my special treats. I have reached out to them on Instagram because I'm just such a huge fan. I was like, "Can y'all come?" And they came.
Listen, let me tell you also, can I back it up? So I had posted I had followed Lisa, and I was like, oh, she just looks really dope. Let me just get this black girl on my on my newsfeed real quick. And it was the morning that The Blackening came out.
Oh.
And I had posted a picture, and you DM'd me, and you were like, you're so dope, you're so cool. I was like, oh, thanks, girl, you hella dope too, whatever. So I was doing my normal social media roundup before I get out of bed, and I was on Instagram, and then I head over to Facebook, and I'm not kidding, 5 people had shared this video. Yeah. And I was like, wait, why does that girl look hella familiar? Oh shit. And then I went back to my Instagram and held it up, and I was like, oh my god, this girl is messaging me right now. And she's blowing up at this moment. So that just speaks to your humility and you're just the bomb.com.
Thank you.
So we want to know how you got to be so bomb.com.
Woo, it was a journey.
Tell us about it.
How much time do I have?
Girl, you the producer of this. You tell us.
I mean, guys, we can stay here all night.
Started.
How did I get to be the bomb?
How did you get to be the bomb creator that you are today?
Okay, so I grew up in Gary, Indiana. Don't know if you've ever vacationed there.
I haven't been there, but I do know the song.
Gary, Indiana,
Gary, Indiana, Gary, Indiana. that's exactly how it goes.
I'm with
You
you
can
guys.
quote
I
us.
don't know what that song is.
So
It's from a musical.
What, The Music Man?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So that's where I'm from. I was born and raised. I was there for 18 years of my life, and then I went from there I went to an historically black college in Memphis, Tennessee. So for the first 21 years, I thought America was mostly black. Ain't that funny? So imagine being 22, learning that it's the complete opposite. And so, but like prior to that, growing up, TV was kind of like my outlet. And I had this thing of, even as a young child, I remember like watching TV and being like, but those people, yeah, they're acting, but they are somewhere else. Because in order to like shoot around these pretty trees, they have to exist somewhere. They're not in Gary, Indiana. Other places exist.
Wow.
So I went to college, and then I got into, I majored in jazz.
That's a hard major.
The evidence
I
speaks
majored-
for itself.
I'm,
Does it sound like the beginning of the Little Mermaid song?
Remember that Kanye song? Boopity scoop.
Boopity scoop. Boop.
oh, may he rest.
We did actually lay Kanye to rest at one of our last live shows, so we can just go ahead and put that to bed. That's done and over with.
I produced another show last night, and in the musical transitions, you put like what songs you want the DJ to play, and there was this one Kanye song, because for the most part, there's still some songs where we listen to them, we're like, oh, we like that song, and in the track list, I put like, yeah, this song, and Kanye, and in parentheses, I always put May He Rest, and not in a way of like he's dead. Welcome to my TED Talk. More so in a way of like, may he just get some rest, like may he take a nap.
Because he needs some mental rest
Yeah.
to just come back to earth.
Yeah.
I feel like, girl, that's why we had to lay him to rest in our hearts, because
I think that's what we had to give closure for ourselves, because we never knew. Self-care. Sometimes deflecting is self-care.
It is.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. Graduated from college with a degree in jazz, and that's when I decided to go to acting school.
Where will I go from here?
Where will I go from here?
Yeah.
Go to acting school, and that's when I was like, oh, the world looks different. But in order to pay for acting school, I did graphic design, because I've always been like into computer, like graphic design, right? So that's kind of how I like sustained myself through acting school, and then that kind of became a business, which turned into my entrepreneurial drive, because I never wanted to work for anybody. Like I never wanted to work for anybody. Like I used to sell pillows when I was in the second grade. I used to sell pops out my auntie's house when I was 9 years old. Like that's where it all started. Very nostalgic.
You were one of those kids.
I was poor. Okay.
That's not what I meant.
I had to.
You were at a very young age.
You know what? I was, and I didn't know that, and I really didn't have like people around me to foster that, because they didn't know that that's what was happening either.
Totally.
And so even in now, in like a lot of the business that I do, I realize that I am doing the thing. It's just not in the language that most corporate cultures have made us try to use.
Right.
So that turned into kind of like, so keep in mind, I'm 22, I'm just now figuring out the world looks different. So I have this attitude of like, how dare you, huh? I'm different. What? You've never met a me. And I was very confused. And I think my frustrations turned into creative outlets. So anything I could grasp, I did poetry, I sing. And then I realized that I just have like these gifts and talents. And my mom did a really good job at like letting me quit stuff. So she let me quit what I didn't like. And I know that's kind of like the reverse of parenting, where it's like, you better not quit. But that never worked for me. And I think she knew that that was my personality. You know, people try to do like reverse psychology. That does not work on me. Because if I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it. And so the things that stayed was just me playing around on computers, acting, and, business stuff.
So how did you become a part of 3P? Where did that come from?
Yeah, okay, so that's a story. So I started, after acting school, I moved back to Gary, Indiana, because LA was too expensive. And then, so here I am, I've seen a little bit of the world, I've seen a mountain, and I moved back to Gary, and I was like, absolutely not. So I drove 45 minutes up the way, and now I'm here. And I started doing theater in Chicago, and I noticed that most of my roles were, I was always the comedic relief in straight plays. And so someone saw me at the equity office and say, hey, why don't you do comedy? And I was like, okay. And I was mostly just looking for jobs, because at this time I was a paid artist, which to get to that step, and by paid artist, I mean you ain't buying no house, but you're like, you have gas money now, which as an artist is a big deal, right?
That's how you get to the next audition.
Right. So I was like, I'm just looking for the next job, and so I started doing comedy in Chicago in the improv space. And so that's when I had my most challenges as an artist, because the improv space is just dominated by white people, because I don't know. I haven't figured that out, and I stopped trying. But I was having a hard time finding my place, and finding my funny. And I like worked my way up through a place where I was like, you know, doing the stages, and I was performing in really, really good shows, but I wasn't happy because I didn't realize that I wasn't being treated right just because they didn't have the resources to deal with Black people. So a lot of us was going through that at the same time. So 3P had already existed, and I would play with them frequently, but not as much, because around that time I was pregnant, I gave birth, and then I was like, I'll catch y'all later. But I would really, really want to, because I just wanted to improvise with Black people, and not just that, but I wanted to improvise with my friends. And it made it so much better and different, because the thing is, improv is you making up comedy on the spot, right? So you're using your personal experiences to create moments. So if I'm on stage with people who have no connection to my experience whatsoever, it's very hard. Plus, they're always going to try to insert my experiences into whatever they're giving me. And I'm like, bruh, just bring your experiences, right? And I was always like the Keisha of the scene, or always, you know, well, what do you think about it, with the inflection of like, let's get the Black person's perspective. But playing with my Black friends, it was just like, I get to be the squirrel this time. I get to act like I'm a tree, and I don't have to be like a socioeconomically depressed tree. I'm just a tree. So I started playing with them more often, and then I had quit my comedy job that I had, and it just became more of like a thing of friendship, where it was less of we meet this time and we play this time. I just always wanted to be with them, and that swelled into us realizing that we have this passion to pursue TV and film together, and we're all doing that individually anyway, so we just all do it together.
That's beautiful. Yes. Solutions. So y'all are killing it. Each individual in the group is killing it. And then y'all came together and killed it.
Thank you.
Online for us with Comedy Central. How did that come to pass?
So the way TV and film and like those type of platforms work, it takes way longer than people think. So those conversations probably happened a year prior to when it came out. And the reason it takes so long is because those spaces are also just dominated by a certain type of experience. So you can't just go somewhere. You know how you just explained it perfectly? Like, y'all know what it's like when you watch a movie and a Black person always die. But what if it was like all Black people? What would that be? You go into a exec team with that pitch, they really are in the mindset of like, yeah, they die first, yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens.
If they're all Black, they're never all Black, right? Right? So a lot of us going into places and explaining our ideas come out of a place of non-understanding. And we, so members of the group take lead on, like, you know, setting those meetings up and stuff like that. So it was really like the diligence of us being like, yo, comedy, for real though, you want to come talk to us? Like, we got this funny for you, like, for real, you gonna do it. And we finally got in conversations with them, and it was time to like start writing out the stuff. And the blackening came from a specific pitch that Dwayne Perkins, who is a member of 3P, he's a writer for The Break with Michelle Wolf on Netflix. So it came out of a pitch that he created, and we kind of worked with them on kind of guiding them through the process of not necessarily the sketch, but just what it's like to work with us. So for example, I have experience in corporate culture now because of a business I have, right? And what I learned is that the corporate culture loves to talk on the phone for at least an hour and a half. to talk about things that could take 10 minutes.
Via email.
Because corporate people just like to hear themselves talk. So it sounds like, so this would be like the beginning. And also, we mentioned, like, you worked in, like, diversity and inclusion. So you understand, there's this thing where if people's enthusiasm doesn't match the people that they're talking to, they don't know how to respond to that, because there's this playfulness of, like, I'm supposed to be always chipper and we're gonna fall back and circle up, hello, like, relax. And also, like, just as a Black woman, I'm too tired to be that happy all the time. So we would start the calls and be like, hey, we're just so excited to jump on the call. Wow, all 9 of you got on the call. It was like, yeah, we know how to use a phone. So we had to, like, they had to learn us and get comfortable with just how chill we were, and that we were not overly excited. We were prepared and ready to be there, and not grateful. It's almost kind of in the reverse of, like, you should be grateful, because we have done things, obviously, for a platform like that. They don't have any videos with 15 million views, I'll say that. And it's really cool to see that we can have an impact in that way. So we go through, like, rounds of conversations with them to write it out, spec it out, and then move the process along a little quicker. It's easier to do when you have 9 people to be like, yeah, I agree, we should move this a little quicker. And that comes in the form of, hey, it's December, and we just want to, like, get some feedback on, like, what we're gonna do before the new year starts, so we can know and, like, help advance and push it forward. And so, like, okay, yeah, we'll get back to you, like, okay, January, hey, y'all said y'all was gonna get back to us. So we kind of, like, led the process along, and they worked really great with us after they learned us.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great. Bring them along. So hopefully it's easier for the next people.
Definitely. That's honestly, like, the biggest thing for me is usually if you just see somebody doing something, it's easier to believe that people like that can do it. So it's not foreign, because you literally see it. One thing as a creative that I forget is that there are some people who don't have the ability to envision things in their minds. So you have to show them. And if they've never seen it, they don't know what you're talking about. So I grew up seeing rooms like this my entire life. And so if I'm going somewhere, I'm like, hey, can you imagine a room like this? They actually can. So you got to help them see it. Hey, and I do that by being as Black as I can on the internet.
Yeah. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah. I think we're all enthusiastic about being very Black on the internet. It's my Sunday morning activity.
Yeah.
Sunday self-care. Be Black as fuck.
Okay, so I think I'm just checking the time. We should probably move into our story time.
Into story time.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so now bringing it back to you all. I know people have things they want to say.
Oh, yeah.
So we would like your topics or suggestions on what our story should be. And as we said before, the person whose topic is selected is going to get a thing.
And keep in mind, you have 3 unfiltered Black women on stage willing to talk about anything right now. Anything.
I'm just a touch filtered.
Just a touch.
Because I still do have a job working with all the white people we've been talking about. And I have that rant. So.
I will have to say, I am very proud of myself and surprised with myself at the filter that I've maintained throughout. You know, my friend, like, you know, because when I say all the curse words are on the tips of my tongue, I mean, y'all will see, but you know what, like.
Wait, so was it true in the Blackening when they pointed you out first as the person that should go first?
Uh-huh.
Because you say nigga the most. Is that true to life?
I do. I say it a lot. Yeah. It's in my vocabulary. We could have, if y'all want to make that a panel and discuss that, we could put that
2019. On. 2019.
Tuesday at 6. Wakandacon will never stop. Yeah, I do. And I do. I was gonna try to give an explanation, but I just say it a lot.
Let's just. Oh, you're at the mic.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, look at you.
You look amazing.
You look amazing. Love that rap.
Thank you. Afrofuturism plus dating.
Dating in the future.
Afro, that's great.
Anybody else? It's a great topic. No, we can. We already said I got stories about celery. We could do this on anything.
She gave us Afrofuturism and dating, and you want to go back to celery?
No, I don't. I'm just saying. I was being genuine. Is there anyone else who has a topic?
Yes, because there is.
Yeah, because there's a contest part of it. So yeah.
Something, and it's really good. Come on up. Oh, I guess just say it right there.
Belt it.
Worst dates ever. Worst date. Y'all want to talk about our dating lives?
Worst dates.
Come on.
Hey, man.
Worst dates ever.
Jazz, hip hop, and didgeridoos.
Jazz, hip hop, and dippity doo. What?
Didgeridoos.
Didgeridoo. Oh,
That's from The Little Mermaid, right? A didgeridoo.
Nope. That's the Australian instrument, right?
Oh, it's an instrument. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Broccoli.
Broccoli. We went from celery to broccoli.
I like it.
Broccoli. Okay. Broccoli.
Broccoli's done me wrong. I got
love
something
broccoli.
on that. Anybody else?
Oh yeah. I love broccoli. I recently started eating Brussels sprouts. I love Brussels sprouts.
Just like little cabbages.
They've never been prepared correctly for you. Yeah. That's what it is. You are not supposed to put them in a pot. They belong on a skillet.
Yeah, do you have some on you right now?
Every day. Can I get them Brussels sprouts? Let me get them Brussels sprouts up off you. Huh? That is not what I said. But you accepted an offer that I didn't give you. No. Also, like WikiHow will hook you up.
Yes, we have
another topic.
Duchess Meghan.
Ooh, Duchess Meghan Markle.
Okay, thoughts. I got thoughts.
Okay, one more.
We got more ideas.
Give your idea.
Let's do.
You almost didn't know you lost your life. Like that person made you so mad. You almost would have killed them, but they just barely made it.
Ooh,
he knows me, so he probably knows all the people I would kill.
You almost lost your life.
Ooh, you almost lost your life. Dude, these are too good.
Isn't that like a constant state of being for black women, like all the time? Isn't that how y'all operate?
Are you saying that we are angry?
No,
Are you saying that we are angry?
No.
Are we angry to you?
And does that make us undesirable?
Hey, I got 7 older sisters. You can't. I'm not. You gotta get me.
You almost lost your life. You almost lost your life.
Is that like if a constant state of being, if by that you mean tired, yes.
Yeah.
So like a constant state of being is like how I feel I have to just exist in the world. Yeah.
It's an almost because I'm too tired.
So tired.
I would kill you if I wasn't going to lay down. That's how it goes. Anybody else? Let's do one more. If there is one more.
Come on.
Religiously motivated medical neglect.
Religiously motivated medical neglect.
So we're talking about like,
God will save you, that type of thing.
And you're not allowed to get a blood transfusion.
When people are like, God's gonna save me, I was like, God is telling your ass to go to the doctor, that type of thing.
Right. Or I have done a study where I did it in particular with minors, where minors do not have the say when it comes to their parents' religious convictions and how they in the household, how do they, get out of that situation, or if they don't get out of that situation, how do they either obtain that medication, or if they end up becoming sick or they pass away.
Ooh, that's a good topic. I mean,
I think that can also roll into mental health, which we talk about very often.
Yep.
Sometimes just pray your depression away.
Let's
confer. We're going to confer the council.
Somebody should put on the Jeopardy music.
If someone wants to get on the mic and sing over that.
Black crowd, you got it.
Which one? What are you guys feeling? Okay, let's go. Yes.
And I want you to know.
It was a hard choice.
Thank you. Have to wait for the boom boom. It was a really hard choice, and it definitely wasn't a waste of time to have everybody come up, but we are going to choose Afrofuturism and dating. funny. It really, you guys came up with some great topics, but this is Lisa's fault.
What I
Do you have a story?
Okay. Oh, I'm supposed to tell the story.
Oh, that's the prize.
Oh, that's the
Black Panther, for unrelated reasons to this con, obviously. Yeah. And it's stuffed. And the reason I have it is because my dad got me one. And when you squeeze his hand, it says his voice, but it wasn't coming fast enough to my home, he thought. So he made them send me another one, because he's an impatient man. And that's your game.
Oh, let's see. Do I have a story on Afrofuturism and dating? So how I feel about Afrofuturism and dating, that puts me in a place of mind of dating in the future. And I think about... So, I mean, I think this was supposed, like, I don't know what this story is supposed to be. Go with me.
5 minutes.
5 minutes? That's long.
Okay, no, 5 minutes max.
Oh, okay, 5 minutes total. I'm really starting to feel that lack of sleep kicking in. So I remember I went on a OKC run a few years ago.
What is this?
OK Cupid. Yeah. It's there's a little app called OK Cupid. It's the people today now use the Tinders, but we had. And I just thought it was so interesting to just like see circle faces of people and that be enough to invite them into my home. And my dog at the time was kind of like my censor, right? If my dog didn't like the person, I didn't like the person.
Fair.
And if my dog liked the person, I really liked the person, right? So I just think that it was funny that I really didn't need much but just wanting to date. Like now it's accessible. Like if you want to date, you can just date, right? By using the internet. But if you want to get out there and meet people without that, sometimes I feel like I don't really know what I'm doing in that regard because I've also been introduced to a little subject I like to call toxic masculinity that I don't fuck with no more.
Good for you.
And it's one of those things of like, have you ever had this moment where you like, oh, I'm not gonna do this anymore ever. Like, you know that's your last, like, oh, this isn't cool, right? So now I find myself I'm in dope spaces with people who believe in me all the time, that the second anybody talks down to me in any kind of way, I kick them in the face.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's a good idea, she said.
It's a good idea. Yeah. So it's gonna be interesting. Also, what's cool is, so my baby daddy here, right? That's why I'm not gonna tell y'all all my business. But what I will say though is that I'm learning to value relationships, period. And I'm in my like phase of like dating life now. I'm noticing that my friendships have become so much more serious and impactful than I could have imagined friendship would be. That if I'm in certain conversations with men and I say something that I would say to my friend, they read it a certain type of way because I'm a female. And I'm like, no, boo. I tell all my best girlfriends that I miss them, so don't you feel special. And so I'm realizing that there's like an emotional disconnect with a lot of men, it seems like, where it's still like our feelings are not our feelings, our emotions are not our emotions. I have to think everything through. I'm practical, I'm logical. And I'm like, no, feelings exist.
Yeah.
And it's okay to have them. So here's my idea, right? Let's develop like an app that's like based off of feelings, right? So I know we got some smart people in the room to help me figure this out. We're working through this. My baby daddy just said we got 5 minutes. Right? So I was thinking, like, we could make an app, right, where, going back to mental illness, this is another idea to put in the queue, too, to make an app dating based off of, like, your mental illness. So you'll be, right? So you'll be like, yo, I got depression and anxiety. Yo, I got this and this. And then we got the algorithm part is where the brains in the room come together to figure out what's a match. Because I don't think we would know. That's gonna take years of development. But at least you in a conversation with people who know mental health is a thing, right? So Afrofuturism and dating, I really don't know.
Stick the landing. Yes.
What about you?
Do you have a story?
I don't have a story. I want to share with you all just something that I've noticed, and I don't know how you're going to take it, but here we are. In terms of Afrofuturism and dating, I'm a little concerned about the future of us as Blacks, African Americans, Caribbean, wherever you come from, and dating. This is specifically coming out of the Bay, but I am noticing, and it could be because it's California and that's where interracial relationships have had the opportunity to flourish. I am unfortunately noticing that Black people in California, and this could be, you guys tell me if it's true wherever else you're from, I'm noticing that we're not having the tendency to choose one another if given the option. It's just a slight uptick. I have interracially dated. My first boyfriend was Korean, and then my second boyfriend was white. Fast forward to 2018, all the men I date are blackity black, chocolate black. Like, the man I'm dating right now, he got made fun of. He's Nigerian. He got made fun of for his dark skin all through high school. And he said it was by Black people that made fun of him the most. Like, your chocolate skin right now, let me make you feel better about this, because everyone in your life is an idiot. And I want to express my concerns. It is something I'm noticing. I hope we can take that out of this room.
You know, I wonder, is that I don't know if that's to the Bay Area, because I think what I see is that there are so many Black people who are so tired, they just kind of want somebody who matches their tired. And so I'm starting to see while that's happening too, I do also kind of see this collective of Black love that's happening. That's good. And then also going back to how I thought the world was made up, we make up 13, maybe by now 14% of the population. And if every single, there are so many different types of people in the world, so many. It's American demographics alone, if it's 300 million of us, 240 million of them are white. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of white people. So sometimes I feel like they probably can't find nobody.
That's true. I think what I've seen is there's a tendency, because our people, we have a history, and a weighty history at that. It's not light, and it doesn't exist in a vacuum. What happened to us, everyone has contributed to whatever state you find us in today. And I'm finding that there is this desire for the uncomplicated, for the easy, free, you don't have all of these issues when you go out to the movies and somebody just looks at you sideways, or they don't want to serve you that day, even though that's their job.
That's true.
So I'm gonna leave y'all on that note. I don't want to accuse anyone in this room of not doing it, but we as a collective, as Black people, as Wakandans, let's do better. Let's choose each other, and let's give one another the benefit of the doubt, because we do go through so much. And if somebody, for instance, is angry one day or aggressive or whatever, ask them what happened and who did that to you. You didn't just wake up aggressive and angry.
You know what? I will say that as a dark-skinned Black woman, and lately stepping into my own with business and entrepreneurship and really coming out there big, I do notice that people, specifically men, don't know how to react to me, because as soon as I start talking to them in a way that's hey, I know what I'm talking about, ABC 1 2 3, it becomes wait, who are you? Wait a minute, what? These braids, this skin, I'm sorry. And I get that they're not listening to me because they're taking in something that they really haven't experienced before, because I feel like the representation of us has just always been so one note. And lately, Black girls have been we don't care.
I know, it's really nice.
We don't care.
Because we're popping. Yeah. And it's hard to keep believing the world when they say you're ugly and you don't have it together, when we're we're so beautiful and we're popping and we have all these degrees and these businesses, and you know, if a Black man chooses us, great, but there are so many people out there in general that, you know, options are open. So there isn't, you know, that wait.
I mean, I was telling my team, if I don't leave Wakandacon with 5 boyfriends, I've did a bad job.
Stop it.
That is a question that we wanted to ask you, like, what were your goals for Wakandacon? So I'm glad we got that on the record. I'm gonna go ahead and hop into my story.
Get your story, girl.
And I hope it is a story. I just got real nervous about myself.
Words come. It'll be a story or not.
So I don't have like, I love talking about dating and relationships and doing it as a Black woman and etc. But I don't have a lot of experiences because people aren't really checking for me. So I want to give you a rundown, like, and then I went on this date with this boy, and then I went on this date with this other person, but I'm not going on dates. I'm spending a lot of time with my dog on my couch in my apartment that I spent so much money on. He's a Havanese. His name is Milo, and you can check out photos of him at miloinabox.com. Thank you for asking. It's not a joke. miloinabox.com. It's Milo. He's in boxes, and it's adorable. And maybe if I spent less time building websites about my dog, then I would have more time to date. But like, who can even? So many variables. Who can say? Afrofuturism, I feel like if we're talking about the intersection of science and technology and Black people building things, like maybe someone will build me a person. A companion person. And my hope is that I don't have to do things like go on OkCupid or Tinder or whatever else it is and have people say things to me like, you're not real, which is a thing that people have said to me before. Or other times where people have met me and say like, ooh, so you're like one of them smart girls, which is not, because I don't know how to not be that. So like the answer is yes, but should I be I don't know how to deal with that. So I'm looking forward to a future where someone builds me an item with empathy and maybe some other plugins. And that'll be a future that's really nice and bright for me. All right.
I would like somebody to build me a person.
So we're right at time. Before we wrap it all the way up, do you have anything you want to let people know about, plugs, things?
You can follow me at Lisa B Experience, because goal number 2 is get at least 14 followers out of this, right? If you guys are around for the whole weekend, I'll be running around, so I really don't have much to say. I've said so much today. I've said so much online. I've said so much last night. Thank y'all so much. I'm so glad y'all here. Yay. Enjoy y'all stays. I love y'alls. I can't think of nothing else to say. That's it.
Okay.
That's awesome. You guys can follow me personally at It's Olivia Dope on Twitter and Instagram, but that is me at NBT The Show's social media. So that'll be me posting. That'll be me replying. So don't be shy.
Yeah. All those things at NBT The Show. I am at Dara M. Wilson because I'm wildly imaginative. And I would also like to pick up 14 followers. I say things sometimes, and they're good things. Not like this, but I have to draft it out first. You understand. All right.
Amazing. I'm so excited to be here, you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. All right.
And this is outro music.
It's too entertaining.
The
outro is supposed to get them out.
We should have put, it sounds like Under the Sea.
It's always, that's the one I do.
Amazing. It's 8:05. We did that in exactly an hour.
Hey, that's perfect.
Thank you for the course.
I just love a hot mic. I'm going to sing, Oh, Adrian.
Don't do that.
All right.